Hi guys, welcome back to It's Frenchie with Karen, and today we're here with another series of videos. So today, apart from just making sure that everything that I say is going to be useful for you, I've also decided to get a really nice background for you so you can enjoy the nature while you're listening to me. So in today's video, again, I've got a series of notes that I have placed in front of me so that I don't make any mistakes and I make sure that I convey whatever I have to be able to say. So in today's video, we will talk about 3 different ways of taking notes. Now, before I really start the video, make sure that you have subscribed my channel, like the video, share it with your friends and family, and also follow me on Instagram if you haven't done that, so that it's more easier. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to contact me. So again, whether it be like any subject or any sort of examinations that you want to go for, taking notes is one of the most essential parts of the examination procedure, and it is a journey that really determines how well you understand a specific information. Now, out there on YouTube, there may be like loads and loads of videos talking about like note taking, etc., etc. But there are certain things that I want to specifically emphasize because I myself have gone through the procedure, and I just want to make sure you don't make the same mistakes that I've done. And I really hope that by the end of the day, you find this video very helpful. So moving straight into the video, one of the best ways to take notes is, I would say, the Cornell Method. Now, if you are a person who regularly searches about note-taking method, I think this is one of the most top note-taking method that a lot of people would take. Personally, I would suggest this for science subjects rather than linguistic subjects like French and English. But I want to mention that some of my friends have used the Cornell method and they found this very, very helpful, because not only can you ask yourself questions through that note-taking method, but at the end of a lesson, you can also write down the summary of what you've learned and what you've understood. So how does the Cornell method even work? So the Cornell method works in 3 components. So like you would have a cue column, which will be 1/4 of the page, and then you will have a note-taking column. And at the bottom, you can leave about 10 lines, so like 7 to 10 lines for a summary part. So you would have your cue column, your note-taking column, and then a summary row. So usually, whenever you go for a lesson, you're going to write down your notes in the note-taking column. So here, you're trying to write down to the best of your ability of what you are learning in the lesson. So whatever you hear, I wouldn't say whatever you hear, but whatever you think is useful, you're going to write it down in the note-taking area. Please note that when you're writing stuff in the note-taking area, you want to make sure that you try your best to write it in complete sentences, so that at the end of the lesson, it doesn't become much of a hassle, because you don't have to like erase everything and fix and rewrite everything. This is a very important tip, that after your lesson, you've got to write down the cues. Now, what are cues? So based on what the notes you've written, you can try to find the corresponding questions. So in that way, it's making sure that, okay, we've got the questions and they're answered in the note-taking column. If there is any questions that you think is not answered in the note-taking column, you can write down the question on the cue column and then put a star next to it. So again, you can like ask your professor or teacher if you don't understand a particular question, but you have a question in mind. So once you feel like your questions are all answered and you feel very confident with your sort of concept that you've learned in the lesson, it is time for you to cover the note-taking section, look at all the questions and all the cues in the cue column, and try to answer it without looking at the note-taking section. So in this way, you're not only writing down your notes, but you're reinforcing what you've learned. After you've answered all the questions in the cue column and you feel like, okay, I completely understand this topic, that's when you proceed to the summary section. Now, although it sounds like it's a lot of different steps, I want to mention that this is one of the most efficient note-taking method that I myself have found because when you go further on for your examinations, you've already like reinforced, I would say, a lot of topics, so it will be much more easier to tackle your examination. But again, I personally feel that this method is very nice for like science students compared to linguistic students. Now, the second most helpful way to take notes is just outlining. So I know this is the most simplest form of method, but then I want to mention how I feel this is very nice and useful because not only this is very simple, but then it avoids using so many different structures on like structuring your notes. So you just take a piece of paper, bullet point all your notes, and then if there's a subtopic, you use the indentation. So you move a certain amount of spaces and then use a different bullet point to continue writing. Now, this is a method that I personally myself find very helpful because I would say I do agree it is very detailed. There's not a lot of pictures and not a lot of illustrations, but I would say it is relatively much more nicer if you're trying to write notes in such a way. The third and last, I would say, note-taking method is writing on slides. Now, I do know that there's a lot of teachers in high school especially that would give like PowerPoint slides to their students, or that will upload some of the materials that they're going to be teaching in like a learning portal. I'm not sure if that's the case for all high school students. But whether it be for high school or university students, I believe that if a professor or a teacher gives you teaching materials or slides, I think it is very useful if you can download those slides and then perhaps use an iPad or an Apple Pencil or a laptop with the corresponding pencil with it. Try to write notes on the slides. Now, I do agree that if you write notes on the slides, you're relatively not learning as much as those students who are trying to write down every single thing. But let's see it in a positive way, because when you're writing notes on the slides, you're saving time and you're making sure you don't miss out useful pieces of information. So in that way, that when you write your specific notes on the slide, you can come back and revisit it and make sure that you holistically understand things, because everything is already there on the slides, but you're just writing add-on notes of what the teacher said in the class to better equip you with the knowledge which is on the slides. I hope that somehow made sense, and I really hope that you found this very helpful. Now, a personal advice for me is a lot of YouTubers would suggest mapping and using mind maps and diagrams. I personally myself don't find this very helpful. I do agree that yes, for like junior secondary students or junior high school students, they may find this very helpful. But I'd say when you progress on to like senior secondary or university, I think when you're trying to use diagrams or map out information, you're somehow losing out some of the details because you're trying to summarize it in a very concise way. However, if you're doing like biology, I think for those subjects, a diagram is like heavily needed, but I think a mind map is something that I would not personally suggest to like any high school student, because the more mind maps that you make, the more conceptualized it becomes, the more details you will lose out. This is something that I personally myself have experienced. So nevertheless, I really hope you found these 3 methods very helpful. Do make sure to let me know in the comment section below about how you felt about these 3 methods, and if there's anything else you'd like me to create a video on. I hope you found this video helpful. Until then, I'll see you in my next video. But before that, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Till then, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!